Fight.
Yes. Make sure you focus in on Chris.
Yeah.
Right.
Don't do that, please.
We'll edit.
Just kidding.
Thanks.
Hey, y'all. Hopefully you can hear me. Hey, y'all. Welcome back, you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy first, week here to talk ambassadors and new initiatives and some good things coming, and for eating good Miller's chicken. So you can go up more than once if you'd like. You have permission. Before I get started, we'll just go around again and do little introductions, because even though you guys have been very busy with the ambassadors, you're not always working together, so you don't still know who each other is. So Kelly Zach here,
Kristen Brenneman, as we said
team
earlier.
leader of the ambassadors.
I'm Allison Frulo. I'm Alex Rue.
I'm Chris Kennedy. I teach reading education courses here, and I see some friendly faces that I have in class right now. So.
Yay.
You're being graded tonight.
Yeah.
Your participation.
Greg Mueller, Student Affairs Office.
Maura McGinty.
Sierra Boyd
Sarah Nestor.
and Maureen Kuhn.
Maureen Kuhn. All right, so we're going to get to business, talk about a few events and things that we're going to be doing. Maureen is going to talk to us a little bit about the Patent Pals, this exciting new project that we're doing this semester. But first of all, ambassador stuff. So of course, we always call on you to do different things for us, and we love you for that. We are having a tele-recruiting campaign that's coming up that is run by Kurt. So Kurt couldn't be with us tonight, Kurt Plummer. He helps with the ambassadors. We have little different functions. He is in charge of all of our recruitment, so that's why a lot of times you have to let Kurt or Kristen know when you're going to events. And I'm kind of handling all the logistics and keeping in touch with you all, and then working on special events. So anyways, there's a tele-recruiting campaign coming up, and this is basically where we're reaching out to alum, to the university community, and I'll read this. So, contact from faculty and current students can be effective in influencing a student to enroll at an institution. So this is part of recruiting, especially during the yield phase. So the time between a prospective student's offer of admission and his or her commitment to enroll. Okay, so the purpose of the phone call is to welcome the student to the university community on behalf of the Patton College of Education, and to provide personalized contact between a member of our faculty or a student and the admitted student. So the caller can share pertinent information about the academic area and answer questions specific to the curriculum. So you're basically talking to Susie and Joey and saying, hey, I'm a student here, let me tell you about my program, it's so exciting. And we have dates coming up. It will start Tuesday, January 27th, and we will go through the month, but on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 7. So I have sheets, and if you can do any of these times, if you can contact Kurt directly, his phone number and his email is at the bottom of the sheet. So.
And dinner will be provided.
And dinner will be provided. Excellent. For Alex.
And I think people have fun doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like talking
They
to
actually
people.
have a lot of
Yeah,
fun,
it's kind
yeah.
of like talking to a prospective student, but it's just kind of on the phone. So sometimes they'll ask you more questions too, when they're not in front, like face to face. I don't know what it is, but
Right?
pretty neat.
So for those of you watching in the video, you'll be getting this in an attachment on an email. Also, on February the 4th, from 5:30 to 7, we're having the Patent Party at the convocation before a basketball game. So that is, we're going to have food and drinks, and we're going to be inviting, people can come, people from the college. It's really a party for the college. So come
Families.
Come
a lot
out.
of professors bring their families.
Yeah, they do, yeah. That's actually a middle of the week. So February 4th is a Wednesday. So from 5:30 to 7. I don't have a flyer on it, but I'll send you an email, or you could write it down, 5:30 to 7. I forgot to bring a pen so we could share. That's the Patent Party. Again, if you can let Kurt Plummer know, if you can attend the Patent Party, you'll come and hang, and literally just come and hang with us. Okay, it's a fun college party. Invite people you know in the college. Bring friends. We try to represent. And I think we're the one college last year that really did show up for our big party at the
We get our
Congo.
own section, like we get our own section in the Congo
Yeah.
and.
We had the
Team
biggest
Middleton.
turnout. I think we did, didn't we, Greg? We had the biggest turnout of all the colleges for.
That I
think it
don't
were-
know.
Kurt had told me something like that, so, anyway, lots of fun, and if you haven't been to a basketball game, they're a wonderful fun. And this is a men's basketball
Make
game.
Patton proud signs.
Yes,
Yeah.
we were down on the floor and we had big pictures of Rufus, his head, you know, and crazy things, and Miss Kelly and I were holding all those crazy signs up. I think they found the two craziest in the crowd, and we did it.
So there's pizza beforehand.
Pizza and some refreshments, yes.
Right.
So,
In that, what's that section called?
It's the, their
Well-
honor,
if you go in the main entrance, it's
They
to,
set it
you
up
go
on
right,
purpose,
it's to the left. So, it's not in the convo, it's not in the basketball area, it's
on the
around the out,
outside.
yeah.
And last year they asked ambassadors to go a little bit early to be kind of like ushers, so when the people in the patent would come.
Yep, to tell
That
them
was
where.
last year, I
Yeah.
think, I
Right,
was there.
so we'll probably ask you to, if you can go, you'll be there about 5 and then help us set up. But Kurt will be in touch with you if you tell him you're interested in being there and hanging out. Really, the 5 to 7's the party, and then you can hang when we watch the basketball game, okay? And we're gonna give you guys the crazy signs to hold, so Miss Kelly and I don't make fools of ourselves again, although I think we might. Anyway, so those are some exciting things. We also have a very busy recruiting schedule, so we will be in touch with you. Do any of you have your availabilities with you tonight? Excellent. If you don't, if you could, to Kristen.
I mean, I
Yeah.
have like 2 spots in there that I put question marks, but I can let you know.
Okay. Are the X's when you can't or when you can?
When you can or can't.
Oh, I went X's where I couldn't.
Okay, perfect,
Sorry.
perfect.
Is it okay if I just write it down real quick?
Yeah. Here, I've got extras of
Anything that
these.
really just
Okay.
tells
So,
us
there you go,
what's
honey.
right.
Sarah, do you need I just have the one pen, if you, okay.
From there to 8:30 at class.
Yeah.
This is free, or this is?
The black is free.
Black is free.
Great.
I have like 5 hours to do that at the airport, so.
So what we do is we put a really cool spreadsheet together, which helps us to know when you're available, so then we call on you for students that come in and different things. And thank you. How did everything go in the fall? Did you guys have fun? Any feedback, anything you would change? We've had phenomenal feedback about all of you, so we appreciate it.
Perfect, thank you.
By the way, our picture's out in the lobby if you haven't seen it. The group picture surrounded by your headshots, okay?
looks very nice.
So it is very nice. I want to try to get a website up. We have a brand new logo, so like we're for real. We really are. So we're excited. Okay, without further ado, I sent you an email a little bit about a mini grant that was written recently by Maureen Kuhn and Kathy Blower and Chris Kennedy. This is for a project called the Patent Pals. I want her to tell you a little bit more about it and what we're doing out in Amesville and how we'll be calling on you guys to come help us with that. So Maureen, take it over.
Swig of water first.
Yes. Anybody need a water? You good? Do you need a second?
Oh, no,
Second
I'm
one?
good.
Okay.
I'm on my backpack.
Okay.
Well, the college has these little mini grants that you can apply for, faculty can apply for. And so I had this idea that it would be fun to work in a former school where I used to teach. So I taught at Amesville for 20 years, first grade mostly. Chris actually worked out there
Just for one,
for
but
1 year.
yeah,
I think that's where we first made our acquaintance,
Yes.
way back when.
yes.
But has anyone been to Amesville or heard of Amesville? No, okay, so it's about 10 miles from here, little, small county school, Athens County School with, I think maybe about 300 students right now. And so I got this idea to apply for a grant with a literacy focus. So the idea is that the ambassadors would go out to the school on a monthly basis and interact with the students and, am I in the wrong spot?
No, I'm
No,
just
we're
moving.
gonna bring it closer.
So interact with the first grade students and read with them, to them, and with them. And each month, the students would get a book or two that they would take home, and so they could start building a home library. So these kids are it's a high poverty school, low resource school, and knowing from teaching there that a lot of them don't have much at home. And so the classroom teachers, there's actually a teaching fellow out there, and then Kathy Blower was the main teacher, and she just recently transitioned into kind of the principal role, but she's still going to be involved with us. But the kids have been surveyed about their interests, so we want to provide books for them. So if they're interested in, I don't know, NASCAR or horses or fishing or whatever, try and match them up with their interest. And then also, the role that you guys will play will be to actually go out and read with them and interact with them. We went out once already, and they've written to us after we went out
fun.
there. So we couldn't go out until you guys were gone, but a few of us went out and had a really interesting time out there. But I think will be really fun for the kids. The kids seem to just totally love it.
Oh my gosh, they're so excited.
We'll be making an
They're so
impact
grateful.
on their
They truly are.
literacy, and developing some relationships and doing some community service learning type things.
Did you get nostalgic when you got out there?
I did,
Did you? I imagine.
yeah. Just for a few
I was
minutes.
nostalgic, and I've never been out there.
Oh, okay, good.
It must have been like a nostalgic, connection.
Yeah.
But the kids were so much fun. They were so sweet.
So Greg and Kurt and Kelly and I went. And Greg, tell about that little fellow who told everything about himself.
Oh, you want me to tell that story?
Yeah, like as soon as we got there.
Well, I think, it's really interesting. I think Maureen gave a little bit of the background about the school, but, the students just really opened up to us. They'll tell you anything. They're first graders, and we were doing some introductions and then started reading, and someone was talking about Kurt or their dad or something, and just out of the blue, one kid just shared that his dad is in jail, to the whole classroom, which was interesting. But they'll tell you anything, and they're just really excited that we're there. And I think it means a lot to them to develop that relationship. This student obviously didn't have a father figure at home at the moment, so I think just having someone else, I think he saw Kurt and saw a male, and I just think that was really important to him. And so that was kind of touching that the students, they're going through a lot, and it means a lot to them that you guys will be in there, and they're going to tell you things that normally, you wouldn't share with someone, let alone a stranger.
They have no filter.
But they feel like they can say anything they want to, and they really, really enjoyed the story and asked a lot of great questions, and were really engaged, and just overall just super excited and very grateful that we were there. They wrote us some really great cards that Kelly has. So.
They drew Greg with glasses.
They did.
So
We have them.
They only gave me a few strands of hair, but
yeah.
they made me very thin.
And Kathy also engaged some of her parent volunteers, and they made some little book bags. They're just these little rectangular bags with a handle that each kid's name is on there with puffy paint. But the idea is that they bring those back and get new books, and then at home they also have a place to keep their books, because I know a lot of times the kids don't have a place. Things are pretty chaotic. They don't necessarily have a bookshelf or any personal space for some of them. So that was why we have the little book bag.
And a lot of hugs at the end.
Oh, tons of hugs. Yeah, lots of
And I
hugs.
love yous.
Mhm.
It was very sweet, yeah.
So, and Amesville is a really interesting community. There is the, high poverty that I talked about, but there are a lot of people who intentionally are living out there. There are some intentional communities that have a variety of people living and sharing spaces with shared values, and then there a lot of kind of off the grid people, and it's just a really eclectic community with a lot of community spirit and kind of love for the school. So even though it's small, it's kind of a hub for what's going on in Amesville. Amesville is only a couple blocks long. I don't even know how many people actually live in Amesville proper, but so there may be, you know, some professors' kids in there, and then some kids who have been in generational poverty and who've had really limited experiences all across the board. So it'll be a great experience. So hopefully your schedules will allow you to come out a couple times. We're going to try and vary the time, so it's not going to be like every fourth Thursday from this time to this time that we're going out. So we'll vary the times so that hopefully you'll all be able to come out and experience it a little bit. So we did our kickoff a couple weeks ago. We brought cookies and
Christmas cookies.
Christmas cookies and
Juice boxes.
popcorn, and a
Popcorn.
few other things. The kids got the books. Kelly and Kurt and Greg read the story to the kids, but it was a great experience. So hopefully we'll be able to participate in that. And that's the reason I guess Chris is here tonight, to spend a couple. I don't know if you're ready to segue. into
You
that.
may segue,
Okay.
and I'll segue the camera.
Okay.
Okay.
So we
Avoid
wanted
pressure.
Chris to come and talk a little bit about reading with kids, reading aloud, you know, helping them
Yeah, I'm not sure.
navigate and-
I'm not sure how. I know you two are in teacher ed, but I'm not sure if everybody else is in teacher ed. So I think what I really want to kind of talk to you is how do you do a read aloud with a child? I mean, it seems simple enough. I get the book and I read it, right? There's tips, there's things that you can do to kind of help yourself so it's a little bit more successful. Like Greg was saying, he read and he was a rock star right away, you know? So,
I think one of the things that really you kind of forget about is they really want to see the pictures.
yeah.
And you know, so if you're reading the
reminded
book and
me.
you're not showing it, so you really have to practice with the book, because the kids will like, where are the pictures? We want to see the pictures and all
Yeah.
that stuff. So.
They
Well,
let
that's
me
funny
know
you
that
mentioned-
right away too.
It's funny you mention that because I want to show a video clip here in a minute, if it's okay, of a guy who made a book with no pictures. And I want to show it to you because it's the way he reads it and what it says is what makes it very interactive. And I think that's where I want to go with this. It should be comments coming backwards and forwards. And Maureen, please interject, because you taught first grade for 20 years or so, and so
Sure.
if you think of something, please just jump in. I printed off part of the website from Read Write Think. It says make the most of your read aloud, and there are tips for reading aloud. So I guess what I want to really kind of have you think about is, what are you going to do before the read aloud? What are you going to do during the read aloud? And what are you going to do after the read aloud? Okay, so the actual reading itself. So the first tip, you know, what to do, the first tip just says, talk about the book before you read it. So when you get the book, you know, flip through the book, look at the pictures. That's called a picture walk. It's a very intentional type of thing. It's to get background knowledge, okay? You're never really sure what those kids know before or what you know, what you want to know about the book too. So you're going to flip through the book and do a picture walk and say, what do you think's happening here? What do you think this book's about? This is the title. This is the author. Let's look at the pictures and see what you think it's about. They can make predictions based on that, okay? You want to ask a lot of open-ended questions, okay? And by open-ended, I mean things that you can't answer with one word. Most of the time, first graders, they'll comment on stuff no matter what. I mean, so it won't be that hard to ask an open-ended question and they'll run with it. Sometimes you may have to kind of reel them back in. I remember, actually it's funny, I had a little boy when I was at Amesville that I always think about when I talk about this. We would always read a book and he would go off on this big tangent about his brother and how they went motorcycle riding, and it would end up being they got abducted by aliens and it would go way off the grid. So you may have to stop them and reel them back and go, okay, let's go back to the story. But for the most part, when you ask questions, try to make them how, what do you think, what if type of questions, because you want them to actually talk more. That's part of the deal. You want it to be interactive. If you just ask them closed-ended questions, what do you think? This is great, huh? And they say yes, and it ends. It's, you know, this whole thing's a whole language experience. It's a language type of thing. And, you know, Mo mentioned, you know, the low socioeconomic status of a lot of these kids, if you look at research, it says that, you know, there's a lot less interaction that goes on in the home. And read alouds are a big part of this. So this interaction is helping them with vocabulary, it's helping them learn phonics and phonemic awareness more than you think you're doing when you're just reading aloud. So be aware of that. So get them to talk too. Get them to talk about the book. It's got a list of some questions that you could ask. What do you think might happen next? What do you think that character did that? Why do you think this is happening in the picture? Okay, those types of things you can ask. Number 4, I'm going to come back to read with enthusiasm and enjoyment. Yeah, you need to do that. And actually, what that video I'm going to show you is going to show you that, you know, in a big way. So. Number 5, if they want to try to read some of it themselves, go ahead and let them and read it with them and go back and forth. But don't make them. If they want to, great, okay? But let them enjoy you reading it to them, okay? And at the end, you want to talk about the book, whether it reminds the child of other books they've read together. Ask the child for their opinion. Did the child have favorite pages? Do they have favorite parts? You want to make lots of connections. You want to make lots and lots and lots of connections with them. So be mindful of that. I brought a book that I'll read in a second. It's one of my favorite books. It's called Enemy Pie, and it's by Derek Munson. And I don't know if you know who Derek Munson is. And it's illustrated by Tara Callahan King. Do you guys know what an illustrator does? Sure. See what I'm doing here? I'm kind of modeling. Okay. What do you think? Do you guys know what an enemy is? What's an enemy?
You don't like?
Somebody you don't like.
I thought it was something that you got when you're sick and you can't go to the bathroom.
Oh no. Well, you're on the right track, kind of, but not really.
It's like something that they would say.
Yeah.
That would be, so, yeah.
I believe Kristen was on the right track with her. Someone you don't like that. Okay. So this sign says, "For my worst enemy, or my best enemy." Okay. What do you think would be in an enemy pie?
Worms.
Huh?
Worms.
Worms? Why do you say that? Because you see a worm. What else would you put in an enemy pie?
Dirt.
Dirt?
Frogs.
Frogs?
Poison.
Poison?
Rat
Oh. I wonder what's in an enemy pie.
I'll
Somebody
find
sent a
out.
picture. Looks like a little baseball going on.
Oh.
Must be summertime, huh? Well, where's he now? What do you think he's doing here?
House.
Treehouse? Appears to be doing a little hardware. Got some hardware going on there. Here, Greg, sorry.
Be like the little girl when I was reading said, "You're not showing us the pictures."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who do you think this guy is?
Dad.
Dad? Okay. I bet you're right. Got
I was
something-
happy.
Happy dad.
got
Happy
something
dad.
else?
I love smiling.
I don't want to show you too many pictures, because if I show you too many pictures, I'll give away the end. So I'm going to go ahead and read Enemy Pie by Derek Munson. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, here we go. It should have been a perfect summer. My dad helped me build a tree house in our backyard. My sister was at camp for 3 whole weeks, and I was on the best baseball team in town. It should have been a perfect summer, but it wasn't. It was all good until Jeremy Ross moved in our neighborhood, right next door to my best friend Stanley. I didn't like Jeremy Ross. He laughed at me when he struck me out in a baseball game. He had a party on his trampoline and I wasn't even invited. But my best friend Stanley was. Jeremy Ross was the one and only person on my enemy list. I never even had an enemy list until he moved into the neighborhood, but as soon as he came along, I needed one. I hung it up in my treehouse where Jeremy Ross was not allowed to go. Dad understood stuff like enemies. He told me that when he was my age, he had enemies too, but he knew a way to get rid of them. I asked him how to tell me how. Tell you how? I'll show you how, he said, and he pulled a really old recipe book off the shelf. Inside there was a worn out scrap of paper with faded writing. Dad held it up and squinted at it. Enemy pie, he said, satisfied. You may be wondering what exactly is in enemy pie. I was wondering too, but my dad said the recipe was so secret he couldn't even tell me. I decided it must be magic. I begged him to tell me something, anything. I'll tell you this, he said, enemy pie is the fastest known way to get rid of enemies. Now, of course, I got my mind wondering, what kind of things, disgusting things, would I put in a pie for an enemy? I brought Dad some weeds from the garden. He just shook his head. I brought him earthworms and rocks, but he didn't need those. I gave him gum I'd been chewing on all morning. He gave it right back to me. I went out to play alone. I shot baskets until the ball got stuck on the roof. I threw a boomerang that never came back. And all the while I listened to the sounds of my dad chopping and stirring and blending the ingredients of enemy pie. This was going to be a great summer after all. Enemy pie was going to be awful. I tried to imagine how horrible it must smell, or worse yet, what it would look like. But when I was in the backyard looking for ladybugs, I smelled something really, really good. As far as I could tell, it was coming from our kitchen. I was a little bit confused. I went in and asked Dad what was wrong. Enemy pie shouldn't smell this good, but Dad was smart. If enemy pie smelled bad, your enemy would never eat it, he said. I could tell he made enemy pie before. The buzzer rang and Dad put the oven mitts on and he pulled out the pie out of the oven. It looked like plain old pie. It looked good enough to eat. I was catching on. But still, I wasn't really sure how this enemy pie worked. What exactly did it do to enemies? Maybe it made their hair fall out, or their breath stinky, or maybe it made bullies cry. I asked Dad, but it was no help. He wouldn't tell me a thing. So what do you guys think happens to the enemy when they eat the pie?
They like you.
You think they like it?
They die.
Huh? Think they die?
They just
Oh,
fall
no,
over.
that's morbid. What?
They just fall over.
They just fall over?
I think they're gonna like it.
You think they're going to like it? Okay, well, let's find out. But while the pie cooled, he filled me in on my job. Uh-oh. What's he going to do? He talked quietly. There is one part of enemy pie that I cannot do. In order for it to work, you need to spend a day with your enemy. Even worse, you have to be nice to him. It's not easy, but that's the only way enemy pie will work. Are you sure you can go through with this? Of course I was. It sounded horrible. It was scary, but it was worth a try. All I had to do was spend one day with Jeremy Ross. Then he'd be out of my hair for the rest of my life. I rode my bike to his house and knocked on his door. When Jeremy opened the door, he seemed surprised. He stood on the other side of the screen door, looked at me, and waited for me to say something. I was nervous. Can you play? I asked. He looked confused. I'll go ask my mom, he said. And he came back with shoes in his hand, and his mom around the corner. His mom walked around the corner to say hello. You boys stay out of trouble, she said, smiling.
Oh.
We rode bikes for a while and played on the trampoline. Then we threw some water balloons. We made some water balloons and threw them at the neighborhood girls, but we missed. Jeremy's mom made lunch, and after lunch we went to my house. It was strange, but I was kind of having fun with my enemy. He almost seemed nice, but of course I couldn't tell Dad that since he'd worked so hard to make this enemy pie. Jeremy Ross liked my basketball hoop. He said he wished he had a basketball hoop, but they didn't have room for one. I let him win a game just to be nice. Jeremy Ross knew how to throw a boomerang. He threw it and it came right back to him. I threw it and it went over the house into the backyard. We climbed over the fence to find it. The first thing Jeremy noticed was my tree house.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. What's in his tree house?
enemy list.
Uh-oh, his enemy list. My treehouse was my treehouse. I was the boss. If my sister wanted in, I didn't have to let her. If my dad wanted in, I didn't have to let him. And if Jeremy Ross wanted in, can we go in it, he asked. I knew he was going to ask me that. He was the top person, the only person on my enemy list, and the enemies are not allowed in my treehouse. But he did teach me to throw boomerang, and he did have me over for lunch, and he did let me play on his trampoline. Oh my gosh, he's going to let him in? He's going to see it. Okay, I said, but hold on. I climbed ahead of him and tore the enemy list off the wall. I had a checkerboard and some cards in the treehouse, and we played games until my dad called us down for dinner. We pretended we didn't hear him, and when he came out to get us, we tried to hide from him, but somehow he found us.
Doggone it.
Dad made us macaroni and cheese for dinner, my favorite. It was Jeremy's favorite too. Maybe Jeremy Ross wasn't so bad after all. I was beginning to think that maybe we should just forget about enemy pie, but sure enough, after dinner, Dad brought out the pie. I watched him cut the pie into 8 thick slices. Dad, I said, it's sure nice having a new friend in the neighborhood. I was trying to get his attention to tell him that Jeremy Ross was no longer my enemy, but Dad just smiled and nodded. I think he thought I was just pretending. Dad dished up 3 plates side by sides with big pieces of pie and giant scoops of ice cream. He passed one to me and one to Jeremy. Wow, Jeremy said, looking at the pie. My dad never makes pie like this. It was at this point I panicked. I didn't know what Jeremy to eat the enemy pie. He was my friend. I couldn't let him eat it. Jeremy, don't eat it. It's bad pie. I think it's poisonous or something. Jeremy's fork stopped before reaching his mouth. He crumpled his eyebrows and looked at me funny. I felt relieved. I had saved his life. I was a hero. If it's so bad, Jeremy asked, then why is your dad already eating half of it? And I turned to look at my dad, and sure enough, he was eating the enemy pie. Good stuff, he mumbled through a mouthful, and that was all he said. I sat there watching them eat an enemy pie for a few seconds. My dad was laughing, Jeremy was happily eating, and neither one of them was losing any hair. It seemed safe enough, so I took a tiny taste. Enemy pie was delicious. After dessert, Jeremy rode his bike home, but not before inviting me over to play on his trampoline in the morning. He said he'd teach me how to flip. As for enemy pie, I still don't know how to make it. I still wonder if enemies really do hate it, or if their hair falls out or their breath turns bad. But I don't know if I'll ever get an answer, because I just lost my best enemy.
Aww. Yay.
So, now we get asked and answer lots of questions and stuff like that. So,
Love that.
it's a pretty cool book.
So how animated can you gals get?
How can you get?
Bring it? Can you bring it? I want to see.
Can you get really animated? I want to show you this real quick because I found this last semester. A student showed me this. Is this not working?
It should be.
Maybe.
And let me tell you what, this group of first graders will keep you on your toes. I was sweating bullets about 3 pages in. They were, you're not holding the book high enough. You're not showing the pictures good. I was, oh, okay. Halfway through, I gave it to Kurt, animated Kurt with 3 young boys of his own. Like, Kurt, you're on this.
You're on, Kurt.
I read books to my daughter, but I don't remember being critiqued this hard before. They were really great kids.
They will let you know, won't they? What happened to my search thing? There it is. Can you hear it?
This is a book with no pictures. It might seem like no fun to have someone read you a book with no pictures.
So they would be complaining at this point because there's no pictures,
It
right?
probably seems boring and serious, except here is how books work. Everything the words say, the person reading the book has to say. No matter what. That's the deal. That's the rule. So that means, even if the words say, Blork. Wait, what? That doesn't even mean anything. Blurf. I am a monkey who taught myself to read. Hey, what? I'm not a monkey. And now I am reading you this book with my monkey mouth in my monkey voice. That's not true. Also, I am a robot monkey. And my head is made of blueberry pizza. What? Is this book over yet? Can I stop reading? No? There are more pages? I have to read the rest? My only friend in the whole wide world is a hippo named Boo Boo Butt.
See, even the adults like it. Yeah.
Kids know that this is the book that makes the grown-ups have to say silly things like, "Go walk on my grump, what do I do?" Palumpa jumpa, Badoogie face!
To get that for the grandkids.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a. I'm gonna have to purchase that book soon. I don't have it yet, but yeah, I guess you don't need pictures, huh? They would be
Right.
going, "Where's the picture? Where's the picture?" But they don't need a picture for that one because you're like the show.
Right,
So yeah. So I just wanted to show you that because putting a little bit into it. I mean, you're a chance to be silly a little bit. But not too outlandishly silly, because you do want them to cook. I don't want Mrs. Blower to get mad at me. But yeah, ask them lots of questions, have lots of conversation, talk about words that maybe you don't think they understood, okay, and then explain it to them in their kind of language, okay? Is that good enough? You good?
Sounded gals?
You can do that? It'll be fun. You'll have a
faith
great
in
time
you.
doing it.
Trust me, if you miss your mark, they will remind you.
Or they won't even know.
Or they won't even know. That's right.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you
You're
so
welcome.
very
Thank
much.
you for inviting me.
That is the fun that we're going to have over in Amesville this year. Thanks to a wonderful mini grant that was written by 2 of the 3 people in this room tonight. And we thank you in advance for signing up when you can. I think we decided on the first date, we were in there talking, we realized schedules can be crazy. So our first date, we're going to go out once a month. To go out in January it very well could clash with the times that you are in class. But we're going to go
Well,
out,
I'm not sure that we've determined.
I think we could probably go out the 28th, Wednesday, I think. And we would be in the classroom from 2:30 to 3, so we would have to leave here by 2, and we would be back between 3:30 and 3:45. And it would be Wednesday, the 28th. Again, I know that's a crazy time. I think you're in a class with Kristen, no? No, I'm not sure if you are.
No, but I do. Emily Whitty and Leslie, Leslie.
Oh, okay, all right. So, if you think you can make it, I will be sending out an email tomorrow with a wrap-up of this. Again, it is Wednesday the 28th. We would leave here, we'll drive in the vans at 2 o'clock, and we'll be back by 3:45. Okay? So we'll take out their next batch of books and maybe some snacks.
I don't think we're doing snacks this time.
Okay, we're just taking
And the
books.
books are already out there.
Books are already
We're
out
just
there.
showing
We're
up.
just showing up. Wow, this is,
Enriching their lives.
yes. And very likely I'll have you wear your shirts, but we'll see. Because we're going out to an elementary school, I don't think you really, I think if you're dressed just like you are tonight, the kids will still love you. So I'm not so sure we need
But
that.
it would be cool if you brought your name tag.
Yes, yeah, that would be
That would
awesome.
help them read.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Is this kind of certified
I would count it as, yeah.
Yes.
certainly.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is
We
a
would
great,
sign off on that if you needed some,
yeah. This is our way to promote, literacy and be advocates in the community for kids that might not otherwise maybe even own books, as we said before, or certainly not really brand new books. And to show them how exciting it is to read, and they want to see you guys. They liked seeing us in December. They were really excited, but a few of them said, "Where are the kids?" The OU kids. So they want to see you, and they want to hear about how exciting it is for you to be learning, and tell them that you want them to be learners too. Okay.
And we also want to kind of extend the literacy experience, so they had an authentic reason to write to us, so they wrote a bunch of letters, but then I think
Yeah.
after this, we can write back to them also and say,
Yes, yeah, we were talking about different ways that we can work with these kids. So I think the key is I'll be writing you a lot, and I hope you all read your emails. This is like I'm talking to some of the kids in my UC 1900 class. Read your emails, but and I always put highly important, but
because it is, right?
because I don't ever want you to miss anything I have to say. But so that when we do some different things, and if you can't make it out to do some of the reading, we might have you do some other, God bless you, maybe some letter writing, which would be wonderful. Which reminds me, as we talked, there will be probably this is off topic a bit, but a letter writing campaign that we're doing, that the dean.
Oh, yes,
That the dean, I don't know if you could talk about that a little bit,
sure.
to support some of the changes that could be happening statewide that could affect you as future teachers.
Actually, there's proposed federal legislation that could negatively impact teacher education programs. And so the dean has asked us to kind of mobilize a whole bunch of people. So there's someone working with teachers, some of our partnership teachers, students, faculty, a lot of people. And at the moment, I cannot articulate exactly what the major issues are, but we will be getting that information and then asking folks to, so Chris, you know what I'm talking about,
I do,
right?
but I
Can
don't
you
know how to articulate it either, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It's-
kind of deep,
Yeah.
and we're gonna wait till we understand it a little better and explain it to you
Actually, I
all.
just had a conversation with Marcy about
Yeah.
that
Right.
a little bit ago, and she was having trouble figuring out
Because
how to
Mercy is
articulate it.
reaching out to our teacher
Yeah.
partners, so.
Do you all know Marcy Kiefer Kennedy?
Yeah,
That's his lovely
well,
wife.
there's regulations that appear to be unfunded mandates and that are, I think, kind of allowing the federal government to have control over things that should be under control of the state. And so, and there's several, I think there are 8 kind of big themes that are issues. But as we find out more, there's a quick turnaround too of this. I know February 2nd is the last day to submit a letter, but we'll provide folks with a template and some suggestions of
Yeah.
things and more information
So,
as we,
more reasons to be advocates, certainly.
right.
So
So we're hoping people will consider writing a letter.
So in other words, you'll be hearing a lot from me. So, thank you guys. I told you we'd probably wrap up early, so you can go about your business. And we try not to, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, Chris.
Just a quick thing, yeah, just
Yes.
a quick thing, we have Ohio Up Close coming up, which is kind of a lot like what you've been doing with the prospective students, except for it's a day where they're not just admitted, it's just all students come, and if they're interested in Patton, there's an academic session that they attend. They're always on Fridays from 11 to 12. And then after the academic session, there's a resource fair where like all different organizations and things on campus go, and they set up little booths. Patton has a couple tables for fashion, for teacher ed and things like that, and we just want a couple ambassadors to stand at the booths and to be at the academic session to help kind of talk about your experiences as well.
It's similar to the events we do in the fall.
Discovery Days.
Discovery Days.
Yeah, it's
It's
almost the
identical.
same thing.
Pretty much identical, just
Yeah.
different names, different audiences.
These
Ohio
are
Up
students
Close-
admitted and,
The Ohio Up Close is admitted.
I
They're
believe
all
so, right?
admitted?
I think they may be
Are they?
admitted, yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
it's usually students and parents.
Yeah, students and their parents come. And it's fun. The academic session is usually an advisor or two going through the programs, and they'll ask different questions that you get to talk about certain things. If you can make both of them, write that. If you can make just one, if you can come for an hour, it's kind of anything. It's not all or nothing. So just write your name and sign up. You can do a couple, that'd be awesome. And for the people that are listening on the video, I'm going to have these sheets in the front office, so you can come and write your name on a couple of them.
And I will remind you about that on email.
Is that only on Fridays?
Only on Friday.
Only on Fridays, yeah.
That's
You-
like straight through my class period.
That's
right?
okay,
That's
that's
okay,
totally
yeah.
okay, we understand.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I do it with like the transfer students too, so can I just like switch?
You can bounce back if you want.
Oh,
Because I don't
yeah.
have any class at all on Friday.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely, yes. So there's always opportunities to get involved. Some students were saying, I'm sorry I couldn't get as involved as you know what? All of you have done phenomenally well and have done everything that you can, and that's all we ask. And we appreciate it, because I know nobody has slacked, everybody has tried to do something. So,
awesome.
but there's always an opportunity. If you write a letter, or if you come and sit for a couple hours and make some phone calls, and we have a real diverse list of opportunities this semester. So I almost apologize that we're gonna be calling on you guys, but you don't have to do all of these things. Remember, really, you only have to participate 3 times in the semester, so more is great. If you can't do 3, it's okay too. So we understand, everybody's very busy. So if you wanna wait for the sheets to go around, or if you wanna come back, and we'll have them at the front desk. Sarah, I don't know if you have to go 6:50. Okay. Okay, no, you can't do Friday, so you won't have to wait for the sheets. Do you think you'd be available?
Well, what I was gonna mention was I'm in the Little Urban Island.
Oh, Fridays, you're
Last week.
up in Columbus.
But that's only 5 of the Fridays.
Yes,
and it
yes.
just depends on who I'm carpooling with and what.
Okay.